Dear viewers, in the last session we discussed winding up and dissolution. In this session we are going to discuss voluntary winding up and dissolution. The objectives of this lesson are to explain the difference between members' voluntary winding up and creditors' voluntary winding up. According to section 304 of the Act, a company may be wound up voluntarily in the following two ways: by ordinary resolution, when the period, if any, fixed for duration of the company by the articles has expired, the company in general meeting may pass an ordinary resolution for its voluntary winding up. The company may also do so when the event, if any, on the occurrence of which the articles provide that the company is to be dissolved has occurred, by passing special resolution. A company may at any time pass a special resolution that would be wound up voluntarily. No reasons need be given where the members pass a special resolution for voluntary winding up of a company. Even the articles cannot prevent company from exercising the statutory right. According to section 308 of the Act, a voluntary winding up shall be deemed to commence on the date of passing of the resolution for voluntary winding up under section 304 of the Act. According to section 307 of the Act, within 14 days of the passing of the resolution, the company shall give notice of the resolution by advertisement in official gazette and also in some newspapers circulating in the district of the registered office of the company. A default in this respect is punishable with fine. According to section 309 of the Act, in the case of voluntary winding up, the company shall, from the commencement of winding up, cease to carry on its business, except as far as required for the beneficial winding up of its business, provided that the corporate state and corporate powers of the company shall continue until it is dissolved. Types of voluntary winding up: members' voluntary winding up, creditors' voluntary winding up. Under the Companies Act 2013, the creditors can convert the creditors' voluntary winding up into winding up by the tribunal. Thus, under the Act, there is only one type of voluntary winding up, namely that the members' voluntary winding up. Declaration of solvency. According to section 305 of the Act, in case of members' voluntary winding up, the company has to make a declaration of solvency. A declaration has to be made by a majority of directors at a meeting of the board and verified by an affidavit. They have to declare that they have made a full inquiry into the affairs of the company and have formed the opinion that the company has no debts or that it will be able to pay its debts in full from the sale of assets. The declaration shall have effect only when it is a. made within 5 weeks immediately before the date of resolution and delivered to the ROC for registration before that date, accompanied by a copy of the report of the auditors of the company, and 1. the profit and loss account of the company from the date of the last profit and loss account to the latest practicable date immediately before the declaration of solvency, the balance sheet of the company, and 3. a statement of the company's assets and liabilities as on the last mentioned date. The declaration should contain a statement that the company is not being wound up to defraud any person or persons. There is a penalty for making the declaration without having reasonable grounds for the opinion that the company will be able to pay its debts. The directors shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 3 years, but which may extend to 5 years, or with fine which shall not be less than 5,000 rupees, but which may extend to 3 lakh rupees, or with both. The declaration should be accompanied by a report of valuation of such assets prepared by a registered valuer. If the company fails to pay the debts within that period, it will be presumed that reasonable grounds for making the declaration did not exist. According to section 306 of the Act, the liquidator should forthwith call a meeting of the creditors, because the winding up has then to proceed as it were creditors winding up. Members' voluntary winding up. The provisions applicable to members' voluntary winding up are contained in section 310 to 318 of the Act. They are briefly as follows. When a declaration of solvency has been effectively made, the company in its general meeting appoints a company liquidator from the panel prepared by the central government for the purpose, and his remuneration is fixed. More than one liquidator may also be appointed by the company. On appointment as company liquidator, such a liquidator shall file a declaration in the prescribed form within 7 days of the date of appointment, disclosing conflicts of interest or lack of independence in respect of his appointment, if any, with the company and the creditors, and such obligation shall continue throughout the term of his appointment. A company liquidator may be removed by the company where his appointment has been made by the company, and by the creditors where he is appointed by the creditors with their approval. Before the removal of the company liquidator, a notice has to be given to him in writing, stating the grounds of removal from his office by the company in case of members' voluntary winding up, or creditors in case of creditors' voluntary winding up. On receipt of his reply to the notice, the members or creditors, as the case may be, may pass resolution with 3/4 majority. Section 311, subsection 1, subsection 2 and subsection 3 of the Act. According to section 310 of the Act, in case of vacancy occurs by death, resignation, removal or otherwise, the company in case of members' voluntary winding up and creditors in case of creditors' voluntary winding up may fill the vacancy in the manner specified in the section. According to section 312, subsection 1 of the Act, within 10 days of such appointment, a notice of change must be given by the company to the ROC in Form 23. According to section 312, subsection 2 of the Act, the liquidator has also to inform the ROC of his appointment and publish in the official gazette. Non-compliance with these requirements renders the company or its officers in default liable to punishment with fine up to 500 rupees for every day till the default continues. The company liquidator must also notify his appointment to the income tax officer, who is entitled to assess the income of the company and comply with the provisions of section 178 of the Income Tax Act 1961. 8. On appointment of the liquidator, all the powers of the board of directors and managing director shall cease except for the purpose of giving notice of appointment of company liquidator to the ROC. The company liquidator shall pay the debts of the company and shall adjust against the rights of contributories among themselves. According to section 316, subsection 1 of the Act, the company liquidator shall report quarterly on the progress of members' voluntary winding up of the company to the members and creditors, if any, and shall also call a meeting of members and creditors, if any, as and when necessary, but at least one meeting in each quarter, and apprise them of the progress of winding up of the company in such form and in such manner as may be prescribed. According to section 316, subsection 2 of the Act, failure to comply with this provision will make the company liquidator liable to punishment with fine which may extend to 10 lakh rupees. According to section 315 of the Act, where the liquidation continues for more than 1 year, the liquidator must call a general meeting of the company at the end of the first year and at the end of each subsequent year. He must lay before this meeting an account of his acts and dealings and progress report of winding up proceedings during the year, together with a statement giving therein the prescribed particulars relating to the proceedings of the winding up. Section 318 of the Act provides that when the affairs of the company are fully wound up, the company liquidator must make an account of the winding up, showing how the winding up has been conducted and the property of the company has been disposed. He must then call a general meeting by advertisement in the official gazette and in a local newspaper circulating in the district in which the registered office of the company is situated, specifying the time, place and object of the meeting. The publication of meeting must be done at least 1 month before the date of the meeting. The liquidator must lay the account before the meeting. Within 1 week after the meeting, the liquidator should send a copy of accounts and return of the meeting to the ROC and the official liquidator. Where no quorum was present at the meeting, he must file a return stating this fact. The ROC must register the account and the return. The official liquidator, after receiving the final report from the company liquidator, will scrutinize all the documents and submit a final report to the tribunal. From the date of filing of the report by the official liquidator in the tribunal, the company shall be deemed to have been dissolved. However, if the report reveals that the affairs of the company were conducted in such a manner as to be prejudicial to the interest of its members or to the public interest, the tribunal shall direct the official liquidator to make further investigation of the affairs of the company. After receiving the report of further investigation, the tribunal may either make an order that the company shall stand dissolved with effect from the date specified in the tribunal's order, or make such other order as the circumstances of the case brought out in the report permit. Voluntary winding up by creditors. Section 306 to 318 of the Companies Act 2013 deal with voluntary winding up. The company shall, along with the calling of meeting of the company at which the resolution for voluntary winding up is to be proposed by the members, shall also cause a meeting of its creditors to be held either on the same day or on the next day. According to section 306, subsection 2 of the Act, the board of directors of the company shall A. caused to be presented a full statement of the position of the affairs of the company together with a list of creditors of the company along with a copy of declaration of solvency as required under section 305 and the estimated amount of the claims before such meeting. And B. Appoint one of the directors to preside at the meeting. C. If the 2/3 in the value of creditors of the company are of the opinion that in the interest of all the parties that the company be wound up voluntarily, or the company may not able to pay for its debts in full from the assets sold in voluntary winding up and pass a resolution in the interest of all parties that it should be wound up by the tribunal in accordance of the provisions of the Act. In that case, it shall file an application before the tribunal within 14 days of the passing of the resolution. The notice of any resolution passed at the meeting of creditors in pursuance of section 306 shall be given by the company to the ROC within 10 days of the passing of the resolution. If the company contravenes the provisions of this section, it shall be punishable with fine which shall not be less than 50,000 rupees but which may extend to 2 lakh rupees, and the director of the company who in default shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months or with fine which not be less than 50,000 rupees but which may extend to 2 lakh rupees or with both. Section 307 of the Act requires publication of resolution of voluntary winding up. The notice of the meeting must be advertised in the official gazette and at least 2 local newspapers circulating in the district where company's registered office is situated. Section 308 of the Act states that in the case of voluntary winding up of the company by the creditors, the winding up shall be deemed to have commenced on the date of passing of the resolution for winding up under section 304 of the Act. Section 309 of the Act states that the effect of such winding up will be that the company shall cease to carry on its business from the date of commencement of winding up except as far as required for the beneficial winding up of its business. Proviso to section 309 of the Act states that the corporate status and corporate powers of the company under the winding up shall continue until it is dissolved. Section 310 of the Act states that the creditors and the company at their respective meetings may appoint a person be a company liquidator for the purpose of creditors' voluntary winding up. However, different persons are nominated by them and then ordinarily the creditor's nominee shall be appointed as company liquidator. Section 312 of the Act requires the company to send a notice of appointment of company liquidator to the ROC within 10 days of such appointment. Committee of Inspection. According to section 315 of the Act, the creditors, if they think it necessary, may appoint a committee of inspection to supervise the voluntary winding up proceedings and assist the company liquidator in discharging his functions effectively. Section 310 of the Act requires the committee of inspection, or if there is no committee of inspection, the creditors may fix the company liquidator's remuneration, failing which it shall be determined by the tribunal. 13. Section 315 of the Act states that the powers of the board of directors come to an end on appointment of a company liquidator. The procedure of winding up to be followed by the liquidator is just the same as in the case of voluntary winding up, except that in addition to the meetings of the members, the meeting of creditors should also be convened. Section 316 of the Act requires that the liquidator should call a general meeting of the company and a meeting of the creditors at the end of the first year, and in case it continues for more than a year, every succeeding year, the liquidator should call a meeting of both the members and creditors, and he must lay accounts and explain to them about the details of the proceedings. Section 318 of the Act requires that as soon as the affairs of the company in creditors winding up are fully wound up, the company liquidator shall prepare an account of winding up, giving complete details of the winding up. Then he shall call a final meeting of both members and creditors to lay final statement of the winding up proceedings of the company. Section 318, subsection 8 of the Act states that in case of default on the part of the liquidator in calling general meeting of creditors and members after the wound up, he shall be liable for punishment of fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupees. Order of dissolution of company. According to section 365 of the Act, if the official liquidator is satisfied that the company is finally wound up, he shall submit a final report to the central government in case no reference was made to tribunal under section 364 subsection 1, and in any other case both to the central government and the tribunal. On receipt of such report, the central government or the tribunal, as the case may be, order that the company may be dissolved. Once the order of dissolution has been passed, the ROC shall strike off the name of the company from the register of companies and publish a notification to this effect. Revival and rehabilitation of sick companies. Section 253 of the Act deals with the above subject. Defunct companies. Section 248 of the Act deals with the defunct companies. Companies Amendment Act 2014. The Amendment Act 2014 omitted the capital requirement clause from the definition of public or private company. After hearing this lesson, the viewer will come to know the difference between compulsory and voluntary winding up. In addition to the above, he will also come to know the difference between members voluntary winding up and creditors voluntary winding up. I hope you enjoy this session. Thank you one and all.